The next thing is, let's talk about real estate now, and the biggest plus you have. It's how you finance it. Now, these kids talk about, oh my God, I don't want a 30-year loan. Are you crazy? Listen, do you realize that money is not cheap, it's free? Are you listening to me? The United States government giving you jumbos at 4.7%, it is not cheap. You need to tell these people it is free. The first thing is, but we have to put money down, Carol. Oh my God, that's expensive. No, it's not. If you buy a $525,000 piece of property and you have to put down 20%, $105,000, that is not an expense. It's a transfer of another asset because you had to get it from someplace. Where did you get it? Are you making it in your basement? No, it came out of a CD, a 401k. It came out of a stock plan, an option that you had. Half of you young kids, your parents gave it to you as a gift, so shut up. That's what I tell my kids, shut up. At the end of the day, it's a transfer of an asset. And you moved it from there because you think it made you better over here. Now let's talk about the magic of real estate now. Do you realize, one, it's down. Of course it is, 30%. Let's go back. 2002 prices, that's where we are now. That should be touted out there by you as being the best thing that ever happened. And every time I pick up the paper, oh, back to 2002 prices, lost decade, worst thing that ever happened. Excuse me. If we go back and we say real estate has gone up 5 or 6% adjusted for inflation, and the San Francisco Bay Area has been the best in the nation, then look at, if we went from 2000 to 2005, and we were going up at 20, 30, 40, and we hit 66% across the nation, doesn't that tell you that it wasn't good value? It was all puff at the top? So we spent the last 5 years trying to get it out, and we're almost there. It's down 30, 35%. Now, at the end of the day, let's say we've had a really tough decade. It went too fast, now it's moving too slow. We probably didn't grow 5 or 6%. Maybe we only appreciated 3%. So go back to 2000, bring it down to 2011, and you know where you'd be? At 2002 prices. Good for you, Mr. Buyer. You're getting in with true value. The guy that got in at 2004, he got 70% of puff at the top, which is worth garbage because he just lost it. So the fact you're at 2002 prices, if you're a buyer, is great. If you're a seller, hey, you got a different picture. You bought at the wrong time. That happens when you don't buy value and you don't mortgage it correctly and you don't stick with it a long time. That's number one. Why wouldn't you take out a 30-year fixed, all you young people out there that want everything recycled? They recycle husbands, children, wives, mothers, mother-in-laws, everything they recycle. Why? You should be taking out an 80-year loan at 4%, and I'll tell you why. When you were basically paying, and you know what? When you buy a house and you're paying 7, 8% interest, which is average, basically 10% of that goes to interest, and basically, 10% went to equity, all the rest went to interest. At 4.7%, almost 30% goes to equity and the rest goes to interest. Do you realize what I've just told you? You now have a property that you own and you put some money into it. So you already have an asset. Basically, just by living there, with it not even appreciating, just because you make your monthly mortgage payment, every month you're getting 30% more equity against that amount that you're paying there. So at the end of 5 years, you won't own 20% of that property. You'll own 25%, which means for you, it's built wealth, and you got to live there. The other magic is the 20% that you put down buys you the leverage of $525,000, which means your potential to appreciate, God forbid it should, is going to be so much greater than any other asset. Now let's compare value, time, and money. We've talked about money. Now let's talk about time. Oh, time is wonderful. Time does great things for assets. So you know what? Let's compare it to another asset, because that's what you have to do. See, we don't need to compare it to school districts and all the puff and the memories and the American dreams. Please. Let's go over here. We're talking asset now. You know what? At the end of the day, you have this asset. And when you have this asset and you look at it, what other assets can we compare it to? Well, I own part of a bank in Santa Cruz, all right? And I have to keep money there because I'm a shareholder. So she calls me the other day, and she says to me, your CD is coming due. I said, great. What can you do for me? She said, we can give you 0.25% for 6 months. I said, what can you give me for 5 years? Oh, less than 1%. I said, forget it. Why don't I send you a check? Then I can deduct it from my income tax and screw what I'm getting in interest, because it's going to get taxed and it's going to be negative for me. So, well, that's not doing real good for me. I guess I could buy a 10-year T-bill. Oh my God, it's over 2% again today in a 3% inflation world. Do you realize every day you're losing money and in 10 years you'll be dead and you won't have anything? I guess I can buy gold. It's going all over the place. I think there's a bubble there. I don't think it's going to go to 2,500. It may, but it's going to come down, and when it does, a lot of people are going to get caught at the back end. Because believe me, the big guys get in and out. The little guy gets caught at the end. Unless you can buy gold and you can buy like $500 million worth of it, don't get in that business. Believe me. Oh my gosh. I guess we can buy stocks. Well, let me tell you the story of my stock. One of the stocks that I own is called the Bank of America. Now, the Bank of America, I've had since it was the Bank of Italy, because my grandfather left it to me. So I always thought I had this kind of family thing to hold it, you know. And I thought, geez, that was nice. And then they transferred it to the Bank of America. And I always kept it for its dividend, because it always paid a nice dividend. Well, the last 3 years, it hasn't paid a dividend, because, see, it owes the United States government money. And the government always comes first. So not only do I not have any stock that's worth anything, because it's $6 a share, it's not paying a dividend. So when I redo my bathroom, I'm going to wallpaper it with the Bank of America stock, so when I go in, I can get sick and remind myself of that. And that brings me to my Warren Buffett story. Now I want to tell you something. Warren Buffett used to be my hero. I wrote him such an email that I cannot even tell you. At the end of the day, I think Warren Buffett, here's what happens to people that get very wealthy. They screw everybody on the way up. Excuse me, I'm sorry I used that word. And at the end of the day, when they hit 80, they get guilt remorse. You do know that. Now we're going to be philanthropic. We're going to help the world. We're going to go give everybody everything. I want to send a lot of money to the government. Well, see, Mr. Buffett, I wouldn't mind sending more money to the government if they were efficient and if they did it right. But I don't think they do that. They're not efficient. They basically are not productive. And everything costs 48 more times than it should. So if we could do this with maybe other companies that are running, maybe that's fine. I don't know. At the end of the day, Mr. Buffett has sued the IRS 20 times in his life because he didn't want to pay taxes. That's number one. Number two is he has a foundation, so when he dies, he's not paying any taxes. But the biggest thing has to do with the Bank of America, because I'm really pissed about that, and let me tell you why. I have this crappy stock now, right? So you know how good that is. You want some? I'll sell it to you before I leave. Okay, at the end of the day, I cannot get a dividend on my stock till they pay back the government. Well, they're really going to do that with 222,000 mortgages that they have to put up reserves for. So I'll be dead before I get another dividend from the Bank of America. At the end of the day, if you remember, Mr. Buffett just loaned the Bank of America through Berkshire Hathaway $5 billion because they need the bucks. At the end of the day, it was very interesting because the United States government gave him a sweet deal. They allowed him to go first, and they'll go second, which means that Mr. Buffett is getting a guaranteed 6% interest payment on his loan, and I'm getting nothing. Because I'm in line after the government, but he got to be in line first. Also, Berkshire Hathaway loaned the money to the Bank of America, not Mr. Buffett. Because it's a corporation to a corporation, the dividend is 70% tax-free. So, Mr. Buffett, you want to send more money to the United States government, that's great, but don't figure out how I'm going to send my money, because I'll take care of my children and my grandchildren. I don't care. That's how I would rather do it. So, at the end of the day, I guess you can buy stock. So, think about what I've just said to you. Real estate. Just think about it now. It's in the best place it's ever been. We're almost there. Here, you're there. It's going to go down another 5%. Big deal. At the end of the day, it's affordable. People that can get in, that have money, will be able to get in. There's a lot of cash sitting here. You're going to get 30% equity every month that you make your payment. The government still gets you to write off the interest for the moment. Oh, and when you do the 121, you're going to walk away $250, $500 tax-free from a dividend and basically appreciation. Why aren't we selling that? Why do we keep selling the community, the school district, and that's all we can sell? It doesn't work because they don't need it. Now let me tell you who's going to come at you, because you will begin to understand how important this is. For the first time ever, we have senior citizens that owe more against their homes than they have equity, and that's never happened before. So that's going to narrow that band for you. First-time buyers that need an FHA, forget it, they're in trouble. A lot of those people basically have lost their homes anyway. They're not going to be in the home buying business for a while. So who do you have? You're going to have international buyers, you're going to have the big pension funds that are going to get in the foreclosure and short sale business, but you're going to have this group called millennials. 99 million of them. They're 25 to 45 years old. They're the children of all you baby boomers. Now see, you baby boomers were a great group. You were. You were fun. You worked hard. You made a lot of loot. You spent it. You blinged. You love it bigger, better. And you know what? You used your houses to build wealth. That's what you did. And you mortgaged your houses to move from one to the other. Now you have these children. Now when you had them, you convinced them they were perfect because they were your children. They had to be better than everybody else. And if we sent them to school and 2 and 2 was 5, at least they tried, okay? So they have now grown up. And they have found out that the pot of rainbow at the end, the gold that you told them that was there, is now a Tiffany box with, when you open it, there's a pet rock in it. That's what's there. So they have come through this world of everything, and now they begin to understand it's not going to be the way they thought. They are very smart. The ones that live in Silicon Valley, and that's your client. We're not talking a farmer out of Kansas City, Missouri, okay? They are basically creators of wealth. Now let me tell you why.